Okay, so today, what we are more going into be in the space of the presence. Now, even we have come into this level of the classes, still you propel into your habitual routine, and that routine is called identification. Identification means, and the other is separate. So it's not just the mind has separated into the identification, but the mind itself has built up a personality that it is something. I am John, I am Ray, I am Jay, I am this, I am that, all these names and their personalities. So what we are trying to do is more than any rituals of the world, offering things to an altar, offering things to, but do you offer this presence into whatever you're doing, whether you're sitting with a person and when you're having a chat and your mind want to identify that person as this, that, why aren't they getting this, all that, at that very moment, if you're very present about totally having no identification, but listen to that person, you will only see the presence of that person. It's like you see the depth of the ocean, but you're not bothered by what the surface, whether is on their path, not as a separation. At that very moment, the conversation, yourself, that person is getting transformed into a different level of understanding and a realization and an elevation. And today, I will point areas for you to highlight, for you to go and catch yourself when you are separating. Because as Krishnamurti says all the time, identification itself is a trick. It's a trick of the mind to trick you, to keep you in the space of the personality, space of the ego. I have to do this, the world have to do this, they have to do this, I have to do this. And it's quite tiring because I always say life, either you're alive in the space of the presence or you're dead to it. And you're just keeping a ghost propelling through your life. And that does not elevate you, that does not transform you, not as a person, as the space of the presence. So you can see this, lot of the world is quite noisy, and you cannot sort out the noise. You cannot sort out that. It is a trick. It is for the trick of the identification. I remove this, I have to remove this, I have to add this, I have to take this out. A lot of people spend their whole life being busy in this, and they suddenly come into a place of no longer the life does not exist on the physical. Life exists, whether you're dead or alive. At that moment, they realize how much they have not been in the place of that understanding and realization. And the surface world is actually, it's a market. It streams out you to pick up things every morning, whether it's through your social media presence. You could see that it will stream you to give your attention into that and pull you into that. And so this is the time that you just become aware of those mental gimmicks and slowly withdrawing yourself from those spaces where you have left and you're still having that mental chat, whether you're watering, whether you're cooking, and coming into the place of knowing that, totally having the presence of yourself to see it in a larger, as Satyaji also says that if you're getting lost on the road, whether when you elevate yourself into a place of a building, you see the whole space rather than getting into dead ends and try to sort out the road and the map. So saying that, Take a deep breath in, shoulders roll back, opening up that chest, and elevate that space of the heart into the present of this moment. So I will move the camera towards Darren so that you can very gently start observing how the breath is moving in and breath is moving out, where the breath is pausing. So it is, let's say, allow the thoughts and things come into the space of that mind screen where you're no longer the picture of that, but you are the space of that empty screen where things are projecting. So saying that, now your shoulders are relaxed, your spine is quite elevated, your body is very gently finding a gentle space for this practice. So now you come to understanding the separation of the matter, the distance and space. And not identifying yourself with that which is not. So you're not on your space moving into the part of the separation of the mind. Now, very gently, when you come into this understanding and realization, when you merge this separation into there's no observer and observe, and you will see the struggle, the conflict, the suffering has completely come to an end. Because for suffering to exist, there has to be a duality of two: me versus the others, me versus the world, me versus the health, me versus the age, me versus the wealth, me versus the relationship. Now, once you understand this, take a deep breath in, arms raised onto the ground, interlacing the fingers and palms facing up. Understand all the responses and the conditioning and the reaction. Just watch without the observer. We are meeting now. The observer without the observer. Because when you observe without the observer, you cannot say Silva is observing, Matt is observing, Chan is observing. Palms onto the Namaskar position and coming into that realization. Very gently coming into the place of not the difficult, not the separation, not the learning, but this witnessing self without the observer. Twisting the spine to the right side, stomach pulled in, opening up that right shoulder a bit more. Now discover what you call right side, what you call body, what you call breath, what you call alignment, what you call stretch. Observe. Observe without the personality. Observe without the observer. Learn more about it by giving your presence into the right, breathing in back into the center. Shoulders relax and chest. If you have really observed yourself, there is no more entertaining the world than observing yourself. It's a quite entertainment, but don't get addicted to it in an ego place. Change the formation of your legs. Now take a deep breath, arms raised onto the ground, interlacing the fingers, palms facing up. Just become into the observing place of this energy. in this very moment, be it. Take another deep breath into in the spine to the left side. Watch yourself. This watching is a living movement. It's alive. They're vital, and you observe. Open the left a little bit more and allow the energy to move through them. If you have any identification, energy leak out to that space. Learn from it. Back into the center. You're observing. Not observing what you have gathered from the past, read about the future. Someone talked about the future, right? Now you're just observing without the observer. You have a story if your personality is there. Everything comes into an end. Nothing through the previous observation. You're just learning to observe and witness in this present moment as something is fresh and new. So very gently you can let it go of the mind which has been observing, personality which has been observing, the religion that has been observing and working through you, your knowledge and your education that has been observed. So with all this accumulated fatigue, you're releasing and you're preventing the perception, preventing the past and the future. Breathing in back to the center. Shoulders roll back, higher up, higher up, higher up. Feel the head back, massage the back of the skull, releasing any tension that has built up on the C1 and C2 when we were separately observing. Breath out into the chest, releasing the tension, back of the neck opens up. Breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the Chitakasha. Giving that most beautiful offering into that space of that realization that is now blossoming. Breathe out. Anus lock, navel lock, throat lock onto the seated back. Your relationship is with this very moment. It is not a moment into the future. It's not a moment coming from the past. Take a deep breath in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the third eye. Coming into the presence of this moment with a gentler movement, a gentler breath, but observing whether mind is going to be separated any moment into its habitual loop, right and wrong loop, good and bad loop, poor and rich loop. Observe. Because this very moment, your life is transformation. Back into the center. Now take a deep breath in and bring your left leg into the back. Right hip very gently open, right foot gently open into the surface of the ceiling. Shoulders roll back, take a deep breath in. And when you release in the breath out, drop the elbows and walk those palms into the back. Now things are coming up into the mind screen, but is that you? Now there's a transformation energy happening from this observation. Now you're not committed to your story. You're not committed to your past. You're not committed to your future. Because you're not looking at it on a personal level of losing or gain. Mind actually comes in to say that you're losing because you're so programmed to win, you can get triggered and move back into that suffering. Take a deep breath in, very gently coming back into the presence. Just be. Whatever coming into the mind stream, whatever coming into the body as emotion. Now let that move through you. There is nothing accepting it, nothing rejecting it, because there is no observer like a security guard to overprotect you. Nothing in the galaxy is protecting. It's only these humans have this energy of protecting their personality, not even their inner self. Into a plank, strong on the pelvic floor. Now very gently lift me onto the floor. Right arm reaching up to the ceiling. Clench and unclench and release the tension. Allow the forms to change, whether it's the movement, whether it's the breath, whether it's a stretch, whether it's letting go, letting be. You're not looking at a certain form anymore, certain idea. Right, reaching into the back and very gently touch the floor. Drop the knees and completely breathe out to a cat. Breathing into a cow. Lengthen that spine, lengthen that throat. Listen. Listening can only happen, feeling only can happen when there is a deeply relaxation. Now you can see the mind will feel you're losing yourself from the past, from the ideas. Breathe out. Anus lock, navel lock, throat lock. What is to lose? What is not real is always losing. You have lived many, many lives, but you think this body is the most important thing. Breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the third eye. Story comes, just be with it. Thought comes, just observe without the observer. Just experience the third eye, no mind. Enlightenment is all there. Breathe out, anus lock, navel lock, throat lock. Now into a neutral spine and rotate the hips widely and release any further tension. Now all that crap that you've been talking about, fighting about, you have realized. You don't realize, you talk. When you realize, you become silent. On to the other side. Push the hips into the front, knees wide apart, push the hips into the back, and taking that breath and the breath out, all in the presence, which is aware of those, the mind games, aware of the sound, aware of the emotion. Now, being aware of it is the space of uniting awareness, the unity of life. awareness with. Every experience is one experience at one time. So that's why the instance is really commitment is into that. Palms facing down, crawling and bringing the chest into the front. Drop the belly, breathing in into up face. Breath out towards the down face. Bending one knee at a time, release the tension. Left foot into the front, into the pigeon pose. Take a deep breath in. Shoulders roll back. When you're allowing the breath to move out, drop the elbows and move those palms into the spine. Now there's a heartfelt commitment that I have. But it is merging into the space of the Shakti, the life. You refuse this life when the moment you decided to be with the thought, decided to be with the identification, decided to be with the right and the wrong. Your commitment to the life has lost. So that's why the practice brings you into a good terms with yourself. And then you can let go of all the stories. Don't reject them. They no longer serves you. The right and wrong, it's not the new flavor of you. You used to be fed with these things. The whole media is about this. You against someone else. Just be very being with it. Now you can see the path you have traveled, the cracks, nooks, certain things designed for you to get caught up, not make it so easy. But now you see the whole map, not just the street that you have come to a dead end. That's a limitation of the mind. That's a limitation of the personality. Palms facing down, very gently coming into a stronger plank. Right knee onto the floor, left arm reaching up to the ceiling, into the back, touch the floor. Drop the knees completely, breathe out to a cat. Breathing in into a gentle cow. Breathe out, anus lock, navel lock. No time, no space. No violent, not non-violent. No psychological conflict. No ideas. The moment you realize that opposition is a state, not of a being, everything comes into a place of breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the space of the Chitta. there is nothing for you to perform anymore. You don't do anything to anyone because there's no separation. Without anus lock, navel lock, throat lock. Can roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the third eye. You don't support anything falsely under the name of peace. You do not want to possess another, saying it's a relationship. You do not want to enslave anything. You do not want to justify under the name of humanity. Separation between you and me, I am you, everything else has collapsed. So then the question is, what is this then? Neutral spine, give a rotation to the hips, wider rotation, wider. Onto the other side. Stretch the spine. At this very level, you have stopped the conflict, not by suppressing it. Because if your nature is in a conflict, and you will be in a practice where it is the opposite, but it will come as a suppress, whether it's addiction to a thought, addiction to a drug, whether it's addiction to a relationship, it's the addiction to the world, addiction to the good world. So just observe the deny. Just allow your practice to come into place of settling, so there's no longer hiding. Accept what is instead of resisting it. Not accepting a part of the conflict, but just observing it. By suppressing it further create that illusion. But you have to heal, you have to do this, you have to do that. So in this very moment, you are showing love to yourself. But you're also having that boundless love to everything else. Now, the moment you have felt that you're struggling, that means you have become distracted by the ripples again from the surface. This is always. Remember, no matter how sad or desperate things seem on the surface, if you allow yourself to sink back into the pure infinite, that is not a promised land, it is there right at this very moment, without the observer, then you can always cope. You can always do. You always move from that. Palms facing down, rolling and bringing the chest into the front. Soften the hips, elbows onto the floor, breathing in into a gentle cobra. Now, if you come into the Bhujangasana very gently, a gentle cobra, soften the gaze of the eyes and soften the jaw. Let everything that is made entirely, whether it's a negative, whether it's a positive, move to. But now you're not taking that as your identification because it's a guinea. You can fool into identifying with it. You can becoming consumed by it when you become active on this. true self is the vastness. These are just the ripples on the surface. You never ignore, you never deny. The lila that is happening on the surface, but the truth can only be appreciated when you view from the depth of looking out, not looking in from the surface. Or looking onto the right side, back into the center, or looking into the left side, back into the center. Very gently allow the third eye to land on the fist or on the hands, releasing the tension, pointing the elbow. Keep all the doorways open of your body. Now, also people who are strongly agitated by their frustrations, their sadness, where the world has to be. We are not in control of what bubbles up on the space of the surface. Don't allow your past to shape the display of the surface. Don't try to hide anything. Don't try to hold anything. Don't try to push anything out. You will again become distracted and entangled in the fruitless space of that moment. The only route is to sink into the depth and then having that compassion and respect for yourself. Back into the center. Take a deep breath in, arms onto the space of the elbows. Breathing in into a gentle up face. Breathe out towards the down face. Breathing in into a plank. Breathe out towards the down face. Breathing in into a plank. Breathe out towards the down face. Breathing into a plank. Drop the knees, stretch the spine. Rolling and bringing the chest into the front. Breathing in into a gentle up face. Give your attention to the movement of the breath, movement of the body. Just be with. Breathe out towards the down face. Bending one knee at a time, releasing the tension. Very gently walk the palms towards the feet. Bend the knees slightly. Holding on to the opposite elbows. Let the head and the neck relax a little bit more. Using the gravity as the supporter, as an offering, move the head side to side, into the front and into the back. Very gently bend the knees and sitting deeper, palms onto the Namaskar position. Coming to the presence of the practice, not just the movement of the breath, movement of the body, but the presence. Now very gently soften and very gently bringing the buttocks onto the floor, releasing the tension. Sole of the feet together, knees wide apart. Very gently soften the hips by butterflying the hips and the knees. Now very gently under the ankles, locking onto the toes, and walk the bum back. Try not to hunch the back. Keep a block if the spine is hunching. Breathe and very gently shoulders relax. And it's the very moment you become into the space of gratitude. What left? Because observer is without the observing. Observing is there without the observer. What is stayed, you observe. What is on the way is also at this very moment you're seeing the work of the being. Now take a deep breath in, very gently coming back, shoulders relaxed, and just open. Shoulders roll back and just open. Take a deep breath in, shrug the shoulders up, peel the head back, massage the back of the skull. Breathe out, relax. Take a deep breath in, shrug the shoulders up, tilt the head back, widely open the mouth, close the mouth few times, open and close, chin to the chest, and relax onto a collapse in the spine, hunching the back. Breathing in, tongue roll up onto the upper palate, energy gaze onto the third eye. Breathe out, anus lock, navel lock. Breathing in, tongue roll up. Breathe out, anus lock, navel lock. Neutral spine. Now stretch the legs into the front. Now toes pointing at each other and heels mat width apart. Just to open up. Toes pointing at each other. Open up the sides of your legs, sides of your calves, sides of your shins, sides. Now feet back into a normal position. Pull out the buttocks, bend the knees slightly. Arms raised onto the ground and rolling forward. Now you can do a Purna Paschimottanasana if the body allows it to come into this space. This is very good to degas the body, releasing the tension of the bloating. Now very gently take a deep breath in and coming back, shoulders relaxed, chest open. Now very gently feet stretch into the front. Very gently right arm reaching up to the ceiling, into the back, onto the floor in the back. Left arm reaching up the ceiling, into the back. Now very gently lifting up or coming into a tabletop or toes pointing down to the floor. Very gently observe, gather the energy. Up, throat open. Don't tilt the head back totally. Just open the back of the neck and the throat. Now coming back very gently. Now elbows onto the floor in the back. If you have a bolster, just put on bolster because it's great to observe and gather the energy from this posture. And if you're very good with the fish pose, then move into the Matsyasana. But otherwise, just tilting and very gently observing and navigating the energy through the chakras. Chin to the chest and totally relax. And let go the body onto the floor. Totally lying down. Now very gently bringing both knees to the chest. Lock onto the toes. Slightly bend the knees. And head down. So Dharan is doing Navasana, but you can totally do the same posture by totally lying down on the floor. And then toes lock. And very gently try to bring the knees under the armpit. Keep the tailbone on the floor. Keep the back of the head on the floor. Just observe the space of the breath, space of the body, not as my body. Now, very gently, knees to the chest, completely breathe out. Now, very gently rock the spine into the front and into the back just to stimulate the space of the spine. Now, very gently, feet closer to the buttocks. Your back is on the floor now again. Hug the tailbone under and peeling off the spine very gently, vertebra at a time. Now don't fire up the hamstrings, contract the glutes. The arms stretch up to the ceiling into the back. If you have space, totally into the back. Open up those armpits, releasing any tension. Keep your glutes contracted. Now very gently take a deep breath in, breath out, bringing the arms back onto the floor next to the hips. Take another deep breath in and breath out, bringing the spine one vertebra at a time, shoulders to relax. Very gently creating that neural pathways to move and flow. Now very gently, left knee on top of the right knee. Very gently dropping onto the left side. Arms stretch onto the shoulder heights, releasing the tension. Back into the center. So let the practice bring yourself into the good terms with yourself. Now onto the other side, right onto the left and dropping onto the right, shoulders onto that. Now, whether you're listening to the breath, whether you're listening to the alignment of the energy, in that very being with it, you will see everything without being personal because the observer is there. When you become personal about the cracks into that design, because you think something is against, you need to be fixed. Sometimes fixing is just being with it, observing it, and you totally create a different transformation into that body, into that mind neuron, back into the center. Now very gently allow the feet to relax and stretch the legs on the floor. Palms facing up next to the hip. Unclench the teeth so that the tongue can fall back. Very gently let go of your right toes, letting go of the below the knee of the right, below the hip of the right. Totally lay your spine onto the floor. Let go of the left toes and the left foot. Below the knee of the left, below the hip of the left. Let your right hand totally drop onto the floor. Fingers of the right. Letting go of the left hand, totally dropping onto the floor. Letting go of all the fingers on the left. Shoulder blades totally relax onto the floor with space. Let the kidneys find space. Let the ovaries find space. Let the space of the genitals find its space. So there is no restriction in the mind and holding any energies accumulated or tense. Let the face totally relax, lips relax, eyes dropping into the socket. The tension of the brain dropping into the back of the skull. Just has become the presence, the observer. Each desire that contradicts, it takes a toll on the body. But by this observation and letting things be, you're just following that space. So there is not a forced healing. Healing is actually the realization. You're learning about your mechanism of your brain, mechanism of your body, but without being personal. So in this present moment, you're actually in that space. When the breath moves into the body, see the space that it is making it alive. When the breath moves out of the body, see the space that it has opened. When the sound moves into the body, observe as it's meeting your presence. Observe without the observer. Act of listening, act of witnessing. Become fascinated about observing yourself. You discover more that you couldn't discover on the surface of you, but you're discovering on the depth of you. Let every cell in this body rejuvenate with that space, and let that conflict completely comes to an end, which we call ill health, poor health, sluggish health. So very gently, observation has become very important, imperative, that you understand yourself deeply, the discovery. So you understand every reaction comes from the space of the conditioning. Now, very gently taking a deep breath in, you're awakening the body, you're awakening the eyes, you're awakening the ears, awakening the nose, awakening all those doors without a conflict. And you're staying tuned without that conflict, not because of the suppression, not because of the control, but because of the understanding. Knees to the chest, completely breathe out. Drop the spine and gently coming into a seated posture. Shoulders roll back, the neck to the right, back to the center, onto the left, back to the center, twist the spine to the right, back to the center, observing without the observer, onto the left, back to the center, arms very gently raised onto the crown, interlacing the fingers, palms facing up, shoulders relaxed, arm free from all that conditioning, even for this very moment. It only can be free from a moment. Rest is your prison by past and a future. Everything can be open only on the present moment. Comes onto the Namaskar position on that sweet realization. I can be free or I can be locked. It's your choice. Arms raised onto the crown, cleansing the space and the auras wherever, with all the keys, all the locks that we are struggling. Coming into the realization of the highest chakra beyond the crown, bringing the palms onto the crown, third eye, vision beyond vision, throat chakra, space beyond the sound, beyond the language, heart chakra, something is very true and honest as the highest wealth, solar plexus. But you are the center of this whole cosmic image. There is no need to find the center in the surface. Never. Where you allow things to digest, including emotions. Muladhara chakra. Arms gently raise back into the crown of that space and the liberation beyond the body, beyond the mind. Palms onto the Namaskar position, that space of realization. Namaste. I bow down and I see your higher self and respect for that, which is awakened all the time. Namaste to you all. As does these days, we're using a gentle practice of moving into the depth of our being and understanding that very moment that you won't have to have the surface chat, very moment that the kettle is boiling, you understand it's now boiling. So it's best to have a cup of tea and relax instead of fighting with the boiling. So the practice is day to day comes into this realization that you're deeply observing things without being the observer and the personality of it. It has to merge into this space of understanding and realization. So today is a day to go for a deep level of exercise in that and see that things that you used to get caught up and rattled. Now you're having a laugh about it. You're having a joy about it. Not at surface level, but in a deep level of aha, kind of a feeling of, and always bring, when you are on the talk, when you're on the main day, bring it back into the space of being presence to life. And as Krishnamurti always says, attend to it, attend to it. You know, it's very important, attending into things when it's happening, not by voice, not by right and wrong, but by being present to it. So my love to you all, Sylvia, Rebecca and Des, Liz, and Matt and Maria. Big hugs to you all. Until I see you next time. Love you all. Bye.